The following podcast is part of the mindbodyspirit.fm podcast network. Hi, I'm Lindsay, host of the Live Like Eden podcast. What do you do when your whole life flips upside down? Are you questioning everything, lost in chaos, or yearning for life's deeper meaning? I've been there, deep in the thick of it, unraveling my own awakening mess for over 20 years. Now I'm here to help you through yours. I share no-nonsense weekly wake-ups, cutting through the ego's illusions to wake you up to your own spiritual wisdom. No mountaintop bliss needed here, just practical tools, insights, and real-life experience to save you time. Plus, a much-needed laugh when we're all losing it. Let's dive into this fresh new episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Live Like Eden. I'm your host, Lindsay. For those of you that are just joining me for the first time, welcome. Today, we're going to talk about the great knower. And what I mean by that is the ego mind. Before we get started on that, I just want to do a little housekeeping and let you all know, I'm sure you can hear there are ads in my podcast now. If you don't like them, I apologize up front. Just fast forward through them. So I recently joined the mindbodyspirit.fm podcast network. And it's a platform for similar shows like mine, from health and wellness to healing, spirituality, all the things. So I encourage you, if you're interested, and my guess is if you're listening to this, that you're into this kind of thing already. And you could just go to the App Store on your phone and download the mindbodyspirit.fm app. And what's really cool, if you look down on the bottom, there are little icons, and there's an icon with a little microphone. It's called Open Mic. And you can send me voice messages, which is really cool. If you have questions about the show, you're struggling with something, you want to comment or you want to share with me, I would absolutely love to hear from you. And anybody that wants to test it out, please go for it. I'm really trying to make this a sharing community that we're all waking up in different ways. And I'd love to hear from you. When you see that icon on the bottom, you can open it up. You can record yourself and preview it before you send it. So if you don't like what you said, you can redo it. And I get the message directly, and then I can answer it on the show and let you know that I got it. So I just wanted to let you know about that. And please reach out. I love getting messages from you. So feel free to reach out anytime. I will absolutely respond to you, and it will be me. All right, let's get into this now. The great knower, the great ego mind, and its need to know absolutely everything. Do you feel this? Do you ever feel yourself needing to solve a problem immediately? Like, I got to know now. Let's go figure it out, solve it. And if there's anything that's ever occurred in your life that you can't solve, then it's a continuous seeking, right? I've recently been doing a lot of research, and I've been going back and looking at my own path, how I got here to this podcast in the first place, but my own undoing process that took me through years and years of struggle. And in the beginning, when I was experiencing a lot of physical upheaval, mentally, I was wondering what the heck is going on with this. I'm feeling a lot of energy, right, in my system. And it was starting to get to levels of extreme sensory awareness where I was getting so much energy in the system. I had no clue how to navigate the world anymore. It was so stimulating and extremely uncomfortable. Why I bring this up is I was on an epic quest to figure out what the hell was wrong with me. I wanted to know exactly what it was. Like, what is it that's causing all this? How do I solve it? And I was flailing around looking for answers. And I'm sure you can relate to anything in your life, especially health trouble. That always is a big one, right? When you don't get answers in the medical world, you're seeking for answers on your own. During this period of time, I discovered nutrition and how food could be an answer to mitigate some of these symptoms that I was experiencing. And so I immersed myself in nutrition and food and plant-based nutrition in particular. And I got really interested in raw food and went out to this raw food culinary school in Northern California. My mom and I went, and I was really wanting to do this. It was a 2-week program. But when I got there, I was so overwhelmed with the amount of frequency and energy in my system. I mean, I couldn't even sit still to listen to anything. I just knew right away that this was not going to work for me. And I was devastated. I really wanted to do this, but I had to accept the reality that it just wasn't in the cards. It wasn't my path. Now, my mom went ahead and did it anyway. But during this 2 week period, we stayed in this really quaint, serene Zen cottage. And I say that because the owners called it the Zen cottage. It was very private and it was close to the water. I could just walk out to the beach and just walk up and down this beach, and no one was there. I was the only one out there just walking. I would spend time sitting in the sand and looking in the ocean, and I would feel myself expand into the sea. That like there was no me. It was just I was in the waves, and I had all these very mystical moments that felt more comfortable when I wasn't doing them in public around lots of stimulation and a lot of interaction, which was very difficult for me. While I was there, I was sitting one day inside the cottage and I felt this credible presence, a power I had never felt before even after everything I had already been through. It was this overwhelm. And in one moment, it was like I emptied and didn't know anything. That all my seeking and searching for answers, and there it was. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about what was happening to me. And it became clear that I didn't need to know. Now, my mind would try to tell me otherwise for years later that I still needed to know. But there was a moment that this unknowing, that I didn't know anything at all, not even about my process. It wasn't totally personal to me. It was this unknowing, this not knowing anything about anything in the world, anything we think we know. It all just kind of faded and fell down and crumbled down to the ground beneath the surface. How many of you have had realizations where you don't know? And how was it for you? Was it easy to let go of it? Or was there still a little battle in your mind where you still were like fighting that, well, I do need to know? I bring this personal story up because the world is full of needing to know everything, right? Absolutely everything we're doing. There's an answer for it. So I'm going to break down 3 things today. 1, let's get into the how-to craze for a minute. Like everybody's got their 5-step program or how to do this. Everyone knows everything about how to solve your problem. And then number 2, academia. Academia and your intelligence level measures, how smart you are. And we'll get into this and why the ego slips in there. And then last, let's bridge the gap between the world we're living in and the mystical unknown that is right there. It's right there inviting us, and very few of us merge into that space and live it daily. There's tastes of it, right? We all get little hints of this. Oh, there's something else. And then we're distracted by the world. And this is sort of a teeter-totter all the way through our lives. The how-to craze. I call it that because it seems like you can't get on the internet and search up anything without it being a how-to manual of how to live your life, right? Like somehow all of us forgot how to live our own life, and now we need a manual from some other person to tell me how to do it. Now, I'm not knocking people who sell how-tos because I do it too. I try to give you advice on how to get in touch with your true essence. But ultimately, we all know we have to do it on our own, right? We are the ones that make that choice. But you know what I'm talking about, right? The blog posts where there's 5 steps to financial security, or here's a way to manifest everything your heart desires and have a perfect, beautiful life that I'm now going to show everybody on Instagram. Oh gosh, how many of us want to take a picture of ourselves in the morning, right in bed, and just post that on your profile page? What's sad about Instagram or Facebook or all these social media platforms, and I'm not really a fan, I got to be honest. I only do it for the show to promote and reach people and share this message, but I don't personally do it. Social media can really do a number on people if they're not aware that everyone posts the most perfect images of themselves, right? I always say to my kids, I'm like, you guys know, like all of that is just a show. Like we all do that. Every one of us is putting up the best picture we can, let's admit it. We all do it. But the reality is we all actually have another side to life, which is called reality, chaos, all the shit that goes down every day that we don't want to share with everybody that we know everyone is experiencing. But I bring up the how-to craze because in a way, we hand over our authority very easily to something else. Now, I'm not saying you can't get a how-to guide or something that then sparks your own creativity and your own inner authority, because in that light, it can be very helpful and useful for you. But when everybody is just out there, how to do this, how to do that. I even have businesses contact me about how to, scale your podcast and have millions of subscribers. And you know what's so funny? They'll say things like, well, you should probably have like a step by step or a how to. And I'm like, I'm not a how to gal. Like, I'm not selling somebody something I'm not doing. That's not authentic. It isn't real to me to do that. Now, for some people, maybe it is. Maybe they really resonate with that. I just personally don't feel that way. I feel like there's more to life. There's this mystical element that we're going to get into by the end of the show. Another thing that how to or step by step, all these phrases that we hear today, is it really that simple? You know, when I was going through hell, I would see things and just let go and you do it like this, put up an image of something in your mind. And the next thing you know, you're going to be happy and all of this stuff that you're feeling is going to go away. And that just never happened. So I was like, just because there's a guide or somebody's offering a step by step does not mean that that works for everybody or that it's true. You know, you really have to use your own discernment and your own intuition. How do you feel when you read somebody's information they're giving you? You know, is it making you excited and you feel like, yes, this is a yes, this is definitely something that I think will help me. It's really helpful to listen to your body's reaction to what information you're coming across. They can be really helpful with things you're doing, like if you're doing a project or you're painting something or you're renovating, things like that, where there's a beginning and an ending to something you're doing. Those can be really helpful. But if we're talking about a way to live your life or that you're going to be happy or that you're going to have everything your heart desires, or that you're going to have the next $1 million business overnight. I mean, if anybody's owned a business, you know it's not luxurious, that there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that is not that way. There's a lot of stress involved, especially for entrepreneurs. And there's a big movement today with spiritual entrepreneurs spiritual entrepreneurs. And it's if you're not in the right alignment, it's just because you're not thinking you can do it. And I'm thinking, in the right alignment, what does that mean? Because I'm not in line with what? The vibration of what I want? Is that what we're talking about? The frequency that I want to feel, the feeling that I want. I'm not living it now, so therefore it's impossible for me to get there. To me, alignment means that I am in alignment with spirit. And spirit is there as a guide. That's me personally. That's how I define it. If I'm in line, and it's not a term that I use. One thing that I always notice when people start talking about similar things is they all use the same phrasing, the same word choices. You see this in every avenue of life, the talking points of everybody in the group. You can see it everywhere. Just turn on the television. You'll see, the political arena. Everybody has the same phrasing. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle they're on, or it's nonsense. There's talking points. They're clearly given them. Nobody would say the same exact thing. And it's also in the spiritual community where the words that people use or phrasing, it's just like you're just regurgitating something that we don't even know what we mean. I always really love to look at things and just discern in my own intuition. And then I hand it over to spirit. It's like, okay, show me the way here. What does this mean to me? And I hope as you're listening to this, that it opens that door in your own mind for that discernment. And I look at it as more of wisdom than anything, just listening to that wisdom beneath your own mind. And I'm talking about as the chatterbox between your ears. We all have it. And it's when you can pull out of that and look at it, and then you can discern what you're doing in your day to day. So with all the how-to craze that makes everybody think they know everything about how to solve anything you can think of, academia steps in as the great intelligence, right? The ego shines and says, I am smarter than you. All the great thinkers and the great minds of the world and the scientists who are solving the questions of the universe. How did it begin? What does it mean? Does anybody really know? What's interesting about academia to me, there's a little arrogance in that world, right? people that pride themselves on being very smart. And hey, there's a lot of smart people in the world. There's a lot of people with things that I would never even fathom. The IQ levels of some humans is amazing. And the things that they've brought forward in our world help us get through life, right? I mean, I look at the birth of all this technology and how it works. How did that happen? Who's in there getting all this in place and the behind the scenes of that? You know, the behind the scenes of what we see on the phone, the code that went into it, right? I mean, that's a whole nother language, a language that I have no interest in, but I do love the technology, you know? When I say academia and intelligent people, I'm meaning that this need to solve the mysteries of the world, make the planet better, you know, these are things we do here. What I want to bring up about it, though, is that when people identify themselves as intelligent people, or I'm smarter than you, right? I know more than you do, therefore I have an authority over you. What is the ego mind really doing there? What is it doing? It's separating. When I think about intelligence or knowing in the world, we are talking about the world of separation. Knowledge in the world is not the same knowledge of God. Those are totally different things. A Course in Miracles would say that knowledge is only God. So think of knowledge as a capital K. It's not referring to knowledge in the world. The knowledge of the world, according to A Course in Miracles, is perception, the world that we are perceiving as separate from God. So thinking about intelligence, and I know more than you, I'm smarter than you, is a hierarchy, right? It's a way that the ego puts everybody on a different level of intelligence. I mean, just think about all the testing you have to take as a kid. You know, my kids have all gone through the school system and they test them all the time. They constantly test you. Here's your result. Here's how smart you are. Here's how you're lacking. What does that do to a kid when you get that test back? Oh, God, I'm obviously stupid. You know, somebody else is smarter than me. And I feel unworthy, or put you immediately into this, oh, well, they're better than me. And the smart person is like walking around on cloud nine. Well, I'm smarter than you. You know? All the college tests, right? The SATs, the ACTs, as if it really mattered. You know? Is it possible that all these tests are really just data farms? I mean, they're just pulling data from us. I mean, that's a whole nother show, but something to think about. Anytime you do an online quiz or a test your IQ online. Uh-oh, where's that going? You know? So putting authority outside of ourselves with the how-tos, or the separation of intelligence levels at all, is putting us all in different categories, and it's doing what? Labeling us. The ego loves its labels. But the big question to ask, and the one I've been researching lately, and the one that hit me many years ago, do we ever stop and ask, do I really need to know? Ask yourself that. Ask yourself right now, do I really need to know this problem that I foresee in front of my face? Do I need to know the answer right this moment? Do I even know what the answer is? When we spend all of our time investigating, like little investigative reporters, right? Because the mind is always questioning and needing to know the answer to everything. And then there's an air about absolute truth, as if we all know the absolute truth is God. I think we'd all love to believe that this world is God's creation. It's woven itself into religion and spirituality for as long as mankind has been around. This is the universe of God, God's creation. Meanwhile, none of us have any direct knowledge that we are God. We have hints of it throughout the ancient mystics and the sages and people of the past who've had a direct communion that they claim they had with God, a moment. But does that moment last here in this world? Is it knowledge or is it perception?
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
In my own experience, I needed to know what was happening to me. And I went through all the different avenues of awakening, right? Well, what kind of awakening is it? Is it a Kundalini awakening? Because that's a very in-depth system out of India. The dormant snake serpent in the base of the spine that awakens and rises up into the crown. Now, I had that experience. But what unfolded later in my life, I couldn't say, yeah, that was definitely what I'm doing. I am in a Kundalini awakening. I could never grab a hold of it, attach to it, and say that out loud. I had similarities. Then I got into shamanic initiation and I got into that world and researched it. And wow, fascinating. And I related to that too. Was it exactly the same? No. But were there elements that I could resonate with? 100%. And then there's psychic phenomenon and paranormal things that would happen. And then I'd say, oh, I'm having a psychic awakening. And the mind would attach to that. And you see where I'm going with this, right? The mind is always trying to figure out and put this beautiful undoing process, the stripping away of everything we think we are, to get to the source of who we truly are. And it's trying to label it and putting it in a nice little container tucked away in the closet. Even as I dove into these different categories and characteristics and trying to put this very large feeling that I had into a box, there was something inside of me that knew that that was not really the answer. In that experience in the Zen cottage that said, you know nothing, there was something that I always knew I didn't really know, and I could never just say, hey, this is what happened, and label it. And to this day, I really can't label it. I just say I had a radical shift in my consciousness that took a really long time, and there was a lot of drama. It's like, how do you label that? How do you put something that you don't know and put it into words and language? It's very difficult to do that. So this show is offering you an invitation to look at the things that are going on in your life and your world around you. Maybe you're having a difficult relationship right now with somebody you love dearly, whether it's a spouse, a family member, or a dear, dear friend. And there's a problem in the relationship. And you need to know the answers. You want to solve the problem now. You have to know the outcome of this relationship. Are we going to stay together? Are we going to split up? And asking yourself, do I need to know the outcome of where this relationship is leading me? Is there a doorway or a glimpse into that spiritual side of myself to align, in quotes, with spirit and allow that mystical side to come in and be in the moment of where we are in the relationship now, without clinging or needing it to be a certain way in the future that you can't possibly know? I use relationships because I was there, my own marriage crumbling to the ground when I didn't know where I was going. My relationship with my husband was taking a back seat. And there was a period of time where we had no idea if we would stay together in a marriage with our family unit or not, because what was happening to me was disturbing the whole crew. We don't realize sometimes what we're going through affects the people that we love most. And I knew this, and I knew that it might crumble to the ground. And as desperately as I wanted to keep it afloat, I had no idea. I had to let it go and just say, I don't know. I don't know where it's going. I'm just going to move forward day to day and allow this relationship to be guided. Maybe you experience similar things. Maybe you have something else going on in your life that you need to know, like the medical mysteries, right? The answers to your physical problems, and medical doctors can't give you the answer. And it's driving you crazy. It can drive you literally mad, needing to know. But what if these moments we see in front of us that are so impactful, right? They just hit us. And we're starving for the manual and the how-to that can help us solve this problem. Is it a problem? Or is it the mind labeling it as a problem? Maybe it's possible that this problem is actually a solution. A solution, huh? A solution to what? I used to hear things like this when I was in the middle of hell, and I'd be like, oh, stop. That is just making me feel worse. So if that just happened for you, My apologies, but I was there too. I resonate with you. I resonate with somebody trying to tell me that my darkness or this horrible situation might be a solution and not a problem. Now, where I see now is very different. Hindsight is always perfect, isn't it? So, what I'm offering you is insight so that you can make something that feels like a problem, reframe the way that you're seeing it, and open the door to total transformation in your life. And I don't necessarily mean physically. I mean, who are you connecting with in your mind? Are you connecting with the great knower? The one that needs to know all the details, all the descriptive analytics and the data points? Or are you choosing the unknown, the spiritual side that doesn't need to know? And when we move into the unknown and the mystical in each moment of our life, the irony is that it's leading us out of this mess and home to knowledge, like I mentioned earlier. The capital K, knowledge, like A Course in Miracles says, is truly God. That this is the world of perceiving, perception. I think we can all agree that we are perceiving something. There's something I believe here that's outside of myself. I'm seeing things as separate. That's difficult for any of us to deny. We all equally share this. We all equally share the separation and the belief that we are perceiving a reality outside of God. Now, 99.9% of us want to pull God into the world, right? That God is here, yet none of us seem to know that. And the reason I say that is if something is known, if it's absolutely known, it's an absolute truth, wouldn't we all know that? But not all of us do. There's a debate about what God is. There's a debate on the good people and the bad people who can access the kingdom and those that can't. There's questions around this in this world, which is why A Course in Miracles says, because you're in the world of perception, you are not in the world of knowledge. As you think about your day-to-day life and the things that you want to know so badly, I invite you to try a new way. I invite you to sit down and say, do I need to know why my child is so upset every second of every day? Do I need to know why there's so much chaos in the world? Do I need to know all the reasons why it's happening? Do we all need to know how to solve the atrocities of the world? I'll share with you another thing that just happened 2 days ago. It was a Sunday morning. Doorbell rings, and my husband and my son and I are served a lawsuit. I'm just like, and the reaction out of both of us as my son was not there is we just literally looked and kind of shrugged our shoulders like, here we go. Here's another thing to deal with. We are used to dealing with a lot in our life. We've had 4 kids, and there's always been something to handle and solve. This lawsuit, by the way, has to do with the car accident my son was in a year and a half ago. I'm not getting into that. But what I'd like to share is instead of reacting and freaking out and, oh no, we're going to lose our whole life, it was like, oh, here we go. I'm connecting. I'm sitting in this moment. I'm reading the verbiage, the legalese through these many, many pages. And I'm thinking, I don't need to know the answer right now. It will work itself out. We're going to hand it over to the insurance company. They already were dealing with it anyway. You know, all those things were coming to my mind. But the reality is, I don't need to know the outcome of that right now. The outcome will happen all on its own. And we'll be there every step of the way, fine-tuning as we need, all the way till it's solved. When that happens, I have no idea. And I'm not going to choose to sit around and worry about it today. But you go through the process. You know, when things shock you in your life, you go through the motions. You go through the initial, oh, this dread comes over you. It's immediate. It just captivates your body and your stomach, and it holds you there. And as long as the mind is still in response mode, you'll feel it as a threat. You'll feel like somebody's attacking you. You'll feel the need to attack back, solve the problem, and do everything the great knower does. But when the awareness in you builds and when you really commit, it doesn't have to be organic. It can be a choice. It's very much a choice in your mind that says, you know what? I see that I'm reacting. I'm going to go through these motions, get it all out if you need to. And then I'm going to reframe this now. I'm going to ask for spirit's guidance. I'm going to step into the other unknown, step out of the known and into the unknown. I want to read you all a few things out of A Course in Miracles to end the show today. This is called Perception versus Knowledge. It's in chapter 3 of the textbook for any of you that follow A Course in Miracles. And this is not a suggestion that you need to follow A Course in Miracles. If you're somebody who's really trying to find peace in your life, it says some of the most amazing things. But here in chapter 3, in section 3 called Perception versus Knowledge, in verse 2, it says this: questioning illusions is the first step in undoing them. The miracle, or the right answer, corrects them. Since perceptions change, their dependence on time is obvious. How you perceive at any given time determines what you do, and actions must occur in time. Knowledge is timeless because certainty is not questionable. You know when you have ceased to ask questions. This verse right here is so beautiful, and it's referring to knowledge as being God, the certainty of God. And as long as we're asking questions, we can't possibly know. That makes sense, right? The other thing I love about this verse, for anyone that's wondering the miracle, A Course in Miracles, a lot of people interpret this as miracles in the world, healing, spontaneous healing, a miracle. It's really not referring to that. The Course is very clear that the miracle, it says right here, the miracle or the right answer corrects them. That is referring to the right-minded thought system, which is the Holy Spirit. That's all it means. The miracle is choosing the Holy Spirit in your life. That's the miracle. It's very simple. It's not about miraculous healing of the body or the miracle that someone was saved. You know, you hear the term used in that way, and we use it like that in the world. But as far as the Course in Miracles is concerned, it's really just the right-minded correction. And the right-minded correction is the Holy Spirit. It's correcting the error that we believe we're in the ego's system or the system of the world. And the next one I want to read to you is shortly afterward in verse 4 of the same section of Perception versus Knowledge. Spiritual sight is symbolic and therefore not a device for knowing. It is, however, a means of right perception, which brings it into the proper domain of the miracle. A quotation vision of God would be a miracle rather than a revelation. The fact that perception is involved at all removes the experience from the realm of knowledge. That is why visions, however holy, do not last. I love this. The vision of God was in quotations. What this is really saying, that spiritual sight that we see in the world, or, you know, we say things are sacred here. A lot of people say that this item is sacred. And the Course makes it clear that nothing of form is sacred. Nothing you see has any holy value whatsoever, because it's telling you that God is holy. Everything outside of it is not. However, as I just read to you, it says spiritual sight is symbolic and therefore not a device for knowing. What it's saying is you can use these things in your life as symbols of the truth. They are not the truth. It's a symbol to get you into the right mind or with spirit, which is the symbol of home. So anytime that you see things in your life where ritual comes in, a lot of people do ceremonies, and it's more of a symbolic gesture than anything. In and of themselves, you could create a ritual for anything, and you could put whatever meaning you want to put on that. And you can certainly see that through all the cultures of the world, all the different traditions and rituals and ceremonies. There's a meaning behind it. They're giving it some meaning. And what A Course in Miracles is saying is, it doesn't matter. The form is not important. You can give it a symbolic meaning of the spiritual if you choose. You can absolutely do that. Like, for instance, I love crystals. I love them. I think they're so beautiful. I envision myself having a very large one day in my office or my home that I'm with all the time just because I love it. I think it's beautiful. I like the way I feel in them, and it's symbolic for me. And my husband years ago gave me one small crystal that I have by my bedside today. It was during a period of time when I was in such darkness. And he gave me a gift on Christmas. It was this small, I can put the crystal in my hand, and the bottom of the crystal is very, very cloudy, and the top of it is crystal clear. He told the shop owner that his wife was going through a really hard time. And she said, oh, give her one of these crystals. It represents the dark, mucky water and then the crystal clear vision. And so I still have it. I love it and I love crystals. But underneath it, I know that in and of itself, that rock is only giving me the symbol of home. And do that in your own life when you see symbols. Taking this just a little further is whatever you're going through, whatever's happening right in front of your face is the symbol. And it's the symbol to say, am I going to side with the great knower and need to know the end result right now? Or am I going to tap my toe into the spiritual water and float in the great unknown? So I hope this show can just help you get a little deeper and realize that anything in front of you can serve as a symbol to choose the unknown, to choose to not know everything in the moment, in that we are always being guided. We are always being guided, and it's just a matter of building some trust. So just the takeaways from today's show are just asking the question, do I need to know everything? And then test it for yourself. Just see what it feels like. How do you feel when you don't feel you need to know something versus needing to know everything? Do a little comparison. And then I just want to remind you all to reach out with any of your questions, comments, you have show ideas, whatever it is. I'd love to hear from you. You can download the mindbodyspirit.fm podcast app and then open it up and go down to the icon open mic, and you can just leave a voice message, and then it will confirm to you that I got it and that I will be responding to you via the show. All right, that's enough. I'll leave you all for now, and I'll see you next week. That's it for today's show. Thanks so much for listening. If it resonated, please share, follow, and drop a review with your takeaways. It really means a lot. Visit my website at livelikeeden.com to subscribe for weekly reminders and blogs, or sign up for a free 30-minute consult to explore one-on-one guidance sessions if you're really struggling in awakening's darkness. Take my awakening quiz to get a personal podcast playlist that meets you exactly where you're at. See you next week for another deep dive.